Hey guys, it's Ken. Welcome to the new video. I've been trying to get this one done for a couple weeks now. This will be my second attempt doing the recording, so hopefully nothing with the video file messes up on this one. Today I wanted to talk about Herb Robin's 1977 weirdo epic, The Worm Eaters, produced by the legendary Ted V. Mikels. I initially discovered this one being lumped into the Ted Mikels kind of collection. Of course, he's done all kinds of great exploitation titles: Corpse Grinders, Girl in Gold Boots, Blood Orgy of the She-Devils, 10 Violent Women, tons of great titles like that. And this one was always lumped in, even though he only produced it, and it's kind of a curious oddity in that sense. But it's always been one of those exploitation movies that stuck out to me for being as unique as it possibly could be. I don't even know if you would call it a horror film or a comedy, and they even had that issue when it came to the marketing, which we'll get into in a bit. So immediately with the opening credits, we get the goofiest theme song this side of the Blob, according to the back of the cover. It's definitely up there. We get these great illustration credit drawings drawn by Sherry Vernon, who previously had appeared in a bunch of Ted Mikels movies. She's the girl in the opening of the Corpse Grinders, gets attacked by the cat. We then learn about Herman Unger, played by Herb Robins himself, who's this kind of country bumpkin guy living on the edge of town, refusing to sell his half of the land to the mayor, who owns the other half, because I believe their fathers went half on the deed, something like that. The mayor's father had killed Herman's father previously.
We'll have our manana estates here, and nothing can stop us. Unless Ungar has some proof.
As far as anybody knows, Umgar's father didn't leave him a will or a deed.
That creep is dangerous. How do we know he didn't leave a deed proving that his old man was in partnership with your old man, and that he and you own half of this town together?
Well, if it does have a deed, I don't think he can read. He's probably used those papers to start fires in that shack of his.
So the mayor's now trying to either get the other half of the deed for himself or to get Herman committed to a loony bin so he can knock down Herman's business and build up a condominium. And so he's constantly going to Herman's house, trying to intimidate him, trying to pressure him into giving up the deed.
You owe it to him to see that they get into the right hands.
My father left nothing.
You must have something, and I want it. Do you hear me? There are going to be a lot of changes around here soon. And there is not going to be any room for any junk of any kind.
Herman plays dumb, acting like he doesn't know what's going on, but he's actually a lot smarter than he's letting on to everybody else around him. And then we get our first taste for how much Herman really cares for his worm family and how much they really mean to him. Very reminiscent of the character Chris Robinson played in Stanley and his relationship with the snakes.
Hello, boys. Yeah. Today you're going to have a little vacation, and you're going to exercise and play. Play all over. Everybody is going to play. Especially you, Stooge. But you don't get enough exercise. And Stooge 2 and 3 and 4, you guys got to play together. Don't get tangled up like last Thursday.
And the film's more warped sense of humor definitely comes full force at this point. We have this one scene where Herman's driving into town to get supplies, and seemingly every corner he's driving by on, there's some woman being attacked by some random guy. You get the sense that Herb Robins was definitely like a John Waters fan, or a fan of that kind of sense of humor or bad taste. So yeah, Herman basically lives in a shack and then runs this campsite. We get a bunch of obnoxious touristy types showing up that are very reminiscent of the kind of characters John Waters would have in his early movies.
My God! This place is worse than the place you took me to in Chile! I just know there are tarantulas here!
No, lady. No spiders. You don't see spider webs, and there's no spiders. Campsite 1 is fantastic. Best place I got. Some rattlesnakes and skunks and some bats.
Meanwhile, the mayor and his cronies are trying to get some sort of plan together to get the deed from Herman. If they have to go and rough him up, or tear his house down by hand, or burn it down, or whatever, possibly kill him if needed. There's also a German waitress character who seems to have the hots for Herman. Herman doesn't seem interested whatsoever, and we soon find out that she's a gold-digging character who believes that he has lots of money hidden away, so that's the only reason she wants to get with him.
That guy is loaded. I just know it.
And she invites herself for dinner at one point, and it really doesn't go very well immediately. She's not huge on the living conditions and doesn't understand his kind of kinship with the worms. She freaks out and ends up stepping on the main worm, Carl, and that gives Herman the idea to feed her a spaghetti dinner of worms for revenge. And it's at this point we now reach the crowning jewel of this film. Glistening, gruesomely detailed close-ups of worms going in and out of somebody's mouth. You can see every time they're being very very careful not to actually chew these things. But that's what this movie really prides itself on, is these big gaping close-ups of worms going in and out of people's mouths and in between their teeth and stuff like that. And it's effective for what it is. So then she begins to choke on the spaghetti and the worms, and we think, oh, well, she's gonna die. She then transforms into a half worm, half human hybrid, and in a panic, he decides he has to hide her away because he doesn't even know how this transformation happened.
My friends, come around. Oh, I cannot. What do I do? I must hide you, Heidi. I must hide you.
And then he soon gets the idea to use more worms on his cranky customers and then kind of hoard more of these human worm hybrids away. Then we get one of the more effective little moments in the movie, I think, where Herman is woken up in the middle of the night by 3 former fishermen who we saw at the beginning of the movie. Herman drops off some worms and we're not really sure what's happening with them. Or are they using them for fishing? Evidently not, because we then later see them show up as half worm, half human hybrids. So maybe they were stranded out there and they had to eat the worms as a result of starvation. It's not really explained a whole lot. So he's basically woken up in the middle of the night by the former fishermen, and they want to take the worm women with them because they want to breed and all this stuff.
See, there are 2 of them up there, and there are 3 of you. You need 1 for each of you, yeah. You see, don't take them. I make you other worm women. Please, I make them for you. I promise I make them for you. But don't take them, please.
Why don't we just take the women and go?
He's right. We need 3 women. 1 for each of us.
They agree, but they also promise Herman that they will be back at that later time, and if he doesn't deliver, then they're going to get him, basically. And with all the stuff going on with Herman's land and the mayor, he eventually realizes, like, the worm thing is basically my one out at this point. So he decides to start poisoning the food of the mayor's cronies and whatnot, thinking that, okay, well, I'll just turn the whole town into worm people. Why not? And it gets really crazy at that point where you're like, where the fuck can this go? Where is this going exactly? The mayor shows up at his house, and they end up having some sort of a face-off where he's quickly dispatched among the worm women. Herman's then woken up the next morning by a fishing line and drug out of his house in one of the more comedically over-the-top moments in the entire movie, which is really saying something. They shove worms into his mouth and turn him into a half-worm, half-human hybrid. But then it just kind of gets crazy. The worm people just go all over town, kind of wreaking havoc, breaking into homes and attacking women to impregnate them or turn them into worm people. I'm not really sure. And it has an oddly weird, somber kind of note at the end.
Oh, height. Much height. Bad height. A lot of height.
But Herb Robbins definitely had an interesting career. He previously worked with Ray Dennis Steckler on stuff like The Thrill Killers, Rat Finka Boo Boo, Lemon Grove Kids, and Body Fever, before he eventually wrote Cynthia the Devil's Doll for him. He then joined forces with Ted Mikels on the Doll Squad as an actor, and I'm assuming that's where that initial connection came from, because a lot of the cast members and crew that worked on this movie were Ted's crew that he worked with on his other movies. The DVD I have comes with a commentary by Ted, but it's a lot of him just narrating what's going on. Not a whole lot of info on this movie that I could find. Interestingly, this is credited as the film debut of Nancy O'Brien, who of course went on to appear with Hamster in the Backlot Murders. Whatever the goal was for this project, it seemed once it was finished, they didn't really know what to do with it. There's a page cut out from Variety at the time where they have 2 different ad slicks. One is marketed as a comedy and one as a horror film. I'm guessing it would have been based on the exhibitor's choice which one to go with, but I just thought that was really interesting. The horror film artwork didn't really appear in a whole lot of other places. I did see it pop up on the back of a couple VHS releases down the line, but primarily they seem to go with the comedic artwork on a lot of the posters and videos and stuff like that. Given its kind of odd history in exploitation movies and the fact that not a lot of people talk about it now, I can't imagine it did very well at the time. That was kind of the goal with these movies. They would play a circuit for a certain amount of time and then another thing would come in and the cycle would keep going. So I can only imagine most audiences didn't know what to do with this movie at the time. I feel like most probably still don't. Robbins would also make appearances in stuff like Invasion of the Bee Girls, Convoy, and even Tobe Hooper's The Funhouse. He only ever directed one other movie called The Brain Sucker from 1988, one of the most delirious shot-on-video movies in existence.
Let me think. What could I do? What could I do to make these little fools panic? God, I hate them so much. I hate their brains. Their brains. Yeah. Their brains. That's it. That's it. I know what I'm gonna do. I'll suck out their brains. Oh! I'll suck out their brains.
But yeah, sad to see that he only ever did that one other movie, because that one is also pretty whacked as far as storyline. So I don't know, I really dig his kind of whacked out approach to storytelling, and wish he'd gotten a chance to do more of it. But unfortunately, Herb Robbins passed away at the age of 81 in 2011, leaving behind one of the most enduringly odd and fascinating legacies of film that there is, I think. Both of his movies need to be studied by people, The Worm Eaters in particular. The Brain Sucker is definitely another more advanced tier for your B-movie connoisseur, but there's something to be valued in both of them, I think. And yeah, I just wish he did more stuff, honestly. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know down below if you guys have seen the movie. What'd you guys think of it? Let me know what other movies you guys want to hear me talk about. I got another review coming up pretty soon for another 70s horror thing. Stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, have a good one.
She beat the crap out of me, and you don't even give her crap. She beat the crap out of me.